One word that gets thrown around a lot in these conversations is like, you have to have like the values that you have. Are they shared? Or even if they're not shared, like what are your values that are important to you and how you see it? But it's like, how do you define values, right? Like, what is this elusive values that everybody talks about?
Yeah. And you should know you're not the first one. I feel like a lot of people are wondering, right? And, you know, when you ask it, sometimes people say the craziest things.
Right.
I love pasta. Guys, that is a value of mine.
I do love pasta.
All joking aside, though, when we talk about values, I think that you're right. People are like, do we have shared values? Are we on the same page with what is it? So if you don't like pasta, am I not marrying you? Like,
right.
How does this work? So, I was talking to a friend earlier today, and she mentioned, the looking for values is one of the core. It's the basis of Judaism, right? And we find it right. We go back to our history book, to who we are, and we go to the Torah and we find Avraham when he's looking. That's the first mention and reference, right, of the shidduch.
I think it's the first marriage.
Right.
It's definitely the first shidduch.
There you go. Find my son a wife. Something that met, and he sends his trusted servant Eliezer. And what was he looking for? The one thing, kindness, right? And even you say something like, I want somebody kind. Who doesn't want somebody kind? But even the word kind, like what does that mean? And so again, if it's broken down and really discussed and you recognize, I think ultimately when you're talking about values and finding shared values, you really have to have that, again, a conversation with yourself. Be self-aware. What is important to me? Do I need somebody who's giving? Do I need somebody who's a little bit, open-minded? The things that
An open home,
things that really, it's not about because whether I like pasta or not is not going to impact. I feel like I shouldn't have used that as an example, but here we are.
But here you are. But some people do. And so I think it was actually
I
a
agree.
good
I agree
example.
Because the pasta is not going to make or break the relationship, right? But if something is important to me, and when you said having an open home, and the other person's just, I like my quiet, and that's not something that, like, obviously you could find a compromise and make that work, but that's something that's important to you, and that you'll be able to give that over to future generations. And that's what we really pride ourselves on in Judaism is we are good people at the core. These good values are important to us. Yes, good looks, and yes, the attraction, and yes, the personality, attraction is necessary. I'm not going to pretend, like, oh, she's kind, he's kind. Amazing. Let them get married.
Right.
You need that. You need the physical parts of the relationship too, which I'm not taking away from. But at the end of the day, it's you're coming together to build a future, and having those core shared values can be the make it or break it. So again, speaking to somebody that you trust, speaking to somebody that has experience in this, a dating coach, somebody that you know that's involved in relationships, your Chabad Rebbetzin, Chabad rabbi, go have that conversation. Really. And
they
really,
want to. They do want to have that
100%,
conversation with you.
100%. 100%. And so that at the end of the day, once you realize that this is, and again, this conversation, I don't know how open a younger audience would be to, right? Because you're so taken over by this, where's my next fun? Where's my next swipe? The hookup culture. Where's the next thing coming from? Quick, in, out, boom, bam, right? So this is it's a serious conversation. And it's one that I don't know that. I wish we could change things, but the reality is, this is the nature. This is it.
So just to go a little bit deeper into that values discussion, let's say you have someone, she sat down, She spoke with her mentor. She spoke with a trusted friend. She has it all written out, a list of 15 values. Some of them may be realistic, but some of them may be not. What would you tell someone if you see this like long list of her values that she has now created for her potential future?
Right. So that's a good question. I feel like we all have expectations of, and that could lend to the problem, right? We've all created this image of this perfect individual. This is what I want. I want this, kind, this, warm. Will open up the door for me. Be good to my parents. Be good
Which
to
are
my
all good
siblings.
things.
All important, right? When I speak to singles, I always say, it's time to narrow down that list. Because realistically speaking, no one out there is perfect. And I'm not saying to compromise on your values, but recognize that you too are an individual, perfectly imperfect. And that, take a mirror, look at yourself, and go down that list. Do I fit all of these categories? Is it realistic for me to expect somebody else? We all want the perfect guy or the perfect girl. Goes without saying. Who doesn't want that? But it has to be perfect for you. So really taking a deeper look, knowing who you are, knowing if these are things that you shine in, or obviously there's that element of, opposites attract. I'm an introvert. I'm looking for an extrovert. That's totally realistic. You don't have to exemplify every single one of the values, but really being like going down it and really looking at it and saying, is this me? And is it fair of me to expect something that may or may not exist because you have all these, you want the perfect list. I would say even cut it down to 5. You can have more than 5. 5 is the realistic and in order form. Because at the end of the day, and if it's your number 1 is kindness, or your number 1 is open-minded, somebody who's open-minded, or number 1 is somebody who values family, then don't compromise on that. But recognize that you can have a long, long list, and that putting them in order form so that you can really see if the other has those things is a realistic approach to the situation.
Yeah, that makes sense, because there's really nobody who could check off every single box